Okay, this regular meeting of the Capital Long Range Improvements Committee Human Development Task Force will now begin.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Wan, and I'm the chair of the Capital Long Range Improvements Committee Human Development Task Force. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
All right, I'll dive in. Thor Adam.
Present.
Zach Aiden. Jocelyn Beard.
Here.
Right, I have John Bernstein marked on here, but John is transportation chair. Hold on as I sort through this sheet real quick. Okay, Bill Gullickson. William Graves.
Here.
Rich LaRoe.
Here.
Erica Mauder. Dan McConnell.
Here.
Jake McCormick.
Here.
Dan Miller. George Montague. Beth Toso.
Here.
Todd Schumann. Eric Wan.
Present.
Willie Bridges.
Here.
All right, is there anybody on the call who I missed? I'm sorry, we've had a bit of we have a couple of names swapped back and forth between committees on this roll call sheet.
Luke Cunningham, I'm here.
James Brown, I am here.
Eamon Gallagher as well. I'm here too.
Okay, great. So with that, we have 11 members present.
Great. We have a quorum. With that, I would like to entertain a motion, if there are no objections, to consolidate the adoption of the agenda and the acceptance of minutes as a single motion. Would anyone like to make a motion?
This is Thor. I'd be willing to make the motion. The one thing I want clarity on, though, didn't we have to score one last item? And does that need to be reflected in the agenda?
Robert, do you recall?
I do recall we attended to the radio project late, but I'm not sure what other item we might have outstanding.
Yeah, I think it was the radio program because it didn't have the information. Then we were going to get back to it. So I just want to make sure we're able to do that.
Let me pull that up. Okay, let's Thor, would you,
yeah,
with your motion?
So my motion would be that I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and minutes with rating the radio program before discussion.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to to adopt both the agenda and the minutes with the addition of the additional scoring before we begin discussing the comments. With that, Clerk, would you please, I see Dan McConnell.
My recollection is we scored that project the same as the 911 project.
Okay, give me a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. Robert, I need you to look at the official record, please.
Whoops, there we go, I'm on mute. Sure, let me pull that up. And it was my recollection that the group was able to revisit that at the very conclusion of the scoring process at the last meeting.
All right, then I'll go back to just approving the agenda as is and the minutes as well.
Okay.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
This is Beth Toso. I'll second.
Okay, Beth Toso with second. We have a motion and a second to move forward with the adoption of the agenda and to accept the minutes for the May 5th meeting. Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Absolutely. I'm going to go through in the same order that we just went through. Thor Adam.
Aye.
Jocelyn Beard.
Aye.
William Graves.
Aye.
Rich LaRoe.
Aye.
And McConnell.
Aye.
Jake McCormick.
Aye.
Beth Toso.
Aye.
Eric Wan.
Aye.
Lee Bridges.
Aye.
Luke Cunningham.
Aye.
James Brown.
Aye.
and Gallagher.
Aye.
Okay, I count 11 ayes.
Great, thank you. The motion carries. So we've adopted the agenda and we've accepted the minutes. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to please pull up the document from the sheriff, which is a summary of all of the comments that were submitted. And I apologize in advance if I didn't catch your comment. I believe I got them all. And another apology for being late. We had a few difficulties dealing with formatting and trying to convert those into files that would go into SharePoint. But I don't think that's going to set us back here.
Just a second, still pulling these up.
So while Robert's pulling it up, let me give you a little background of what we have here. What I did was I created a table with a field where anyone can go into SharePoint and add comments. So you'll see there's a fourth column where you can add your own comments. And what I will do with Jocelyn is Jocelyn doesn't know this yet. We will take the comments and try to incorporate them into. We will take your comments and incorporate them, your feedback, and incorporate them into the comments. So the general comments, there may be another general comment coming from the transportation group. Robert?
Eric, I don't know what the best time would be for this, but I did want to make a general announcement related to the public hearing tonight.
Oh, please, right ahead.
Yeah, sure. So before we jump into the comments, as folks may know, CLIC attends a joint hearing with the Planning Commission once a year as part of its requirements. It's an opportunity to receive public input on the capital improvement program via the Planning Commission, via the Planning Commission's a committee of the whole meeting. This year, the city clerk is asking that we do things a little bit differently than in past years, and so I wanted to put a question out to the Human Development Task Force. The thing that they're doing this year differently is they're requiring, I think they're basically enacting stricter requirements about how joint hearings are held. So in the past, only the members of the CLIC executive team were essentially delegated to go and attend this meeting, which is occurring at 6 o'clock tonight. City clerk has actually said this year that, to the extent possible, they'd like CLIC membership to attend the meeting at 6 o'clock this evening. We fully recognize, and we named this in our conversations with clerk, that it was a late notice, but we do want to make a good faith effort to see if CLIC members are interested and able to attend this meeting, which is online at 6 o'clock. We did say that we would check in with the committee and see if anybody was available. So at some point during this meeting, either now or I think later on, I'd like to do a quick check-in with folks here in human development and see if anybody, by a simple show of hands, would be available to attend the meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. It's an online meeting. We have the links and everything for the meeting. I'm not sure how long it usually goes, but it's a fairly well-attended public input session. So I wanted to make that announcement. If I can clarify anything, please let me know. And maybe I can check back in once I pull a few notes together for a show of hands as to who might be available and interested to attend later on. I do see one hand raised right now.
This is Rich. Could you repeat the purpose of tonight's meeting and what will be accomplished there?
So this is a public input session. The purpose of the session is wholly to receive comments and then provide any, I believe, and Willie, Eric, Jocelyn, correct me if I get this wrong, but I believe the executive committee provides some edifying comments to the planning committee, the planning commission, in terms of how the process is going and what we're seeing as a result of this year's process. But no action is taken during the meeting. The only thing that happens that CLIC is responsible for is receiving the comments from the public via this joint hearing, receiving any commentary from the Planning Commission, because this does enable location and design review for certain projects, and then incorporating those comments into the CLIC report that we're going to publish in July. So again, no action is specifically taken in this meeting. No votes are called from CLIC members. It is purely a city clerk requirement that in order to establish that this is an official CLIC meeting, we will call a roll call at the beginning of the meeting in order to establish that this committee, yes, has officially met and can legally conduct business if business were required.
Okay, so I'm sorry, one more clarification. This is a meeting, yes. This is a planning committee meeting. This is a public input for the planning committee and we're just attending to observe?
No, it's a joint meeting of the CLIC and the Planning Commission. Once a year, we have this meeting and we have public, excuse me, my allergies. Publics are asking, it's a Q&A. The commissioners can ask us questions. Also, the public can ask us questions too. Mm-hmm. So it's a planning, it's a 1 year meeting that we get together, that they have, that we meet with that committee. So it is a Q&A, public there. The last few years, there have been public who have been there who've asked questions about certain projects that CLIC is doing and why, the who, what, and why certain things aren't or can we do. But it's just a Q&A.
Right. I'm just trying to understand how it's different from the other two public meetings we've already had.
This is meeting with the Planning Commission. That's the biggest difference, actually. Right. And it's something that we wanted to have happen several years ago. They were doing their own thing and we wanted to be involved in that process. Eric?
Yeah. So the difference is that the City Planning Commission is present. And we can answer broader questions to the public because it's open to the public. And also it's a chance for us to exchange information. Actually the previous human development chair is now, what is her role? Raya is now the commissioner. So she brings some experience and knowledge of what we do. And I believe the only group that it's sort of mandatory would be there would be the executive committee. But I think attending could be very instructive to know what the current issues are, where city planning intersects with what we do with the capital budget. Does that help, Rich?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
And really encourage as many as you, if at all possible. I know it's short notice. If you can be part of that, that would be good. If not, what they'll do is postpone to a different date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be clear, the meeting will be conducted as usual this evening. The component that gets postponed is essentially Click's official adoption of the materials or of the commentary that's received during the hearing. So essentially, the hearing would continue, but Click would have to basically approve or receive the comments at a subsequent meeting. And it's important for the public because it makes it harder for the public to follow along if that's what happens. Arguably, since no action, no investment decision, for example, is made at this meeting, members of the public would not necessarily miss out on an opportunity to, I think, weigh in a meaningful way. But it does make it a bit more challenging if Click has to, adjourn and then say we'll officially adopt everything at our next full meeting. That's why we're attempting to seek quorum. Rich.
Do we have the material for this meeting, the documents and et cetera that the planning committee will be sharing?
So that is the capital budget request list. And then they also, as part of their informational packet, look at something that Justin Carlson distributed a couple of weeks ago, which is just the rundown of all the resources requested by capital projects. BP 006 requested $2 million, BP 008 requested $8 million, et cetera.
And Rich, sometimes they ask questions and sometimes there's no question, and public, when we're in person, public showed up.
Right.
But sometimes it's like they don't ask us any questions at all. So it's rare that they do. Right.
But if it's the same material, then how is the planning committee different from the Click committee if it's all the same stuff?
So I do want to say the Planning Commission is responsible for several important processes, which I can't do credit to, but they will. These capital projects have to go through location and design review, and that's the Planning Commission process. And so this is absolutely a point where we start to connect in a public way the capital budget requests that Click is reviewing to the Planning Commission's work of location and design review to ensure that all of these projects that we're reviewing right now and will eventually make a programming recommendation on have also gone through the correct city processes related to location and design review. Otherwise, Click essentially recommends a program, and then we would have Planning Commission review after Click has made its recommendation. And you could see how the Planning Commission could potentially, for lack of a better word, sync portions of the CIP. So this is a way to ensure that these two processes are really talking together. And for the Planning Commission to receive their own public input, I think is part of this joint public hearing.
And they don't change anything that we recommend. Your comments and everything, they don't change anything.
Mm-hmm. So I would also offer that the types of expertise that the two committees has is very different. Yeah. Other than Willie's an architect, but the Planning Commission is predominantly architects and city planners. And Willie, correct me, I've known several members of the Planning Commission. They're involved in more of the mechanicals. For example, zoning. They're concerned about that. They're concerned about historic preservation. They're concerned about that physical entity that is built, while we're focusing on purpose and budget and some of the more the executive decisions that go into deciding whether a project proceeds or not.
That's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good, Eric.
Two very different perspectives.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all working together to administer the city as best we can. But when these two perspectives meet, sometimes they don't sync up. We may recommend funding something, and they're going to say, you're putting a modern building in the middle of a historic district. This doesn't work for us. And then it would go to the Heritage Preservation Commission, which brings even another perspective, which would be historic preservation.
So, bottom line, in past years, it was the executive committee that would go. It was only 5 or 6 people from CLIC that would go attend this meeting. This year, we received very clear, well-intended direction from the city clerk. Unfortunately, the clarification is late in our process, so we weren't able to give folks advance notice of this meeting. What I'll do now is I'm just going to put together a simple tally sheet. I will ask for a show of hands of folks who think they might be interested and able to attend at 6 o'clock tonight. And then maybe we can just put the issue to rest that way. I'm not seeking to put undue pressure on committee members for a 6 o'clock in the evening meeting at this point, but I do want to make a good faith effort on behalf of city processes to see if folks could attend. But I can hold on until I get a tally sheet ready to go to actually ask if folks might have availability.
Robert, for clarification, I believe I received an email that they wanted us to come on at 5:45. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the executive committee is able to jump on, I think, at 5:45. They have more substantial comments and may receive direct questions from the planning commission. I think everybody else would have the opportunity to, you can join early if you want, but CLIC's portion of the hearing starts at 6 o'clock, time certain.
So I'm going to echo what Robert asked. If you can make it, it would be really well appreciated. And I think you'll get something out of seeing how the architects and the city planners interact with those of us who are concerned about purpose and budgets. Okay, Robert, shall we proceed? Sure.
So I have the sheet up. Is this the correct sheet? I just want to confirm.
Yes, that's the correct sheet.
Okay.
Okay, so this is on SharePoint at the moment. What you're going to see are 4 columns, and what I'm going to do today is go down item by item. The first 3 items aren't going to be prepared. There may be a 4th item there that Steve Brandt, who's on the Transportation Committee, is preparing on bonding, which is
Excuse me, Eric.
Yeah.
Robert, can you make it a little bit bigger?
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry, just one moment.
Okay, let me change my glasses.
Okay, thanks.
The aging process. Okay, great, thank you. So I think this is as large as it'll get. So we have 4 columns here, and the general category is the first column. Second category is the comment verbatim from what was submitted by the primary authors. Next is the team members. And what I'm going to ask today is the team members to lead us through the comment that was submitted. And finally, there's an empty field where I'm going to leave that open so that anyone who has comments or suggested edits from our task force can just go ahead and type your comments in there. I would ask you to put your name and then your comment and then put a slash or a semicolon or something to separate you from what other people are doing. So remember, we're sharing this document. So it could get a little unwieldy, but we'll take care of that later after you get your comments in. Okay, so there are 3 general comments that will be coming out a little later after we're done with the CBRs. And there's a 4th probably coming from Steve Brandt, who's in the Transportation Committee Task Force on bonding. We don't have that yet, but when we do, I'll insert it here. Any questions before we start going through each of these? Okay, if not, let's start with number 1. Kitty, are you on the line? Kitty? I believe you may be on mute. Let's see here. Kitty, you are on mute. No. Kitty, we simply can't hear you. Okay, you're back on mute now. You're off mute. Okay, I think we'll proceed. Kitty's in South Carolina at the moment, so I don't know if they have she has the bandwidth necessary to participate, but she's sitting in her car. So let's go to number 2. No, we can't go to number 2. Robert, can we keep moving down? Let's skip over Kitty's. Okay, Dan McConnell, I don't know if you submitted some comments, but if you didn't, there's still time because we're going to be going through this again next week.
I tried to put it in just now, but I'm not sure how the SharePoint worked. I didn't really get connected to that until
Oh, did you put it into the space? Because Robert has to refresh if it's in their space right now.
Yeah, I put it in there, so try it.
Yep, just one moment.
Yep.
I'm working off of a downloaded copy that's now local to my machine, so it's not gonna pick it up, but I'll go in and grab the comments here. There we go.
Great, thank you. Okay, Dan, would you like to speak to your comment here?
Yeah, I think as we discussed, I think, if we're going to upgrade the security of the building, we should also think about, screening people coming into the building. So that was kind of the point of my comment.
Okay. So I'm going to make a recommendation here, folks. In the feedback column, most of these comments come in and they occupy an entire paragraph. So if you've got any other ideas that would enhance or augment the statement, if over the next week you could include them under the feedback column, that would be greatly appreciated. And this isn't, I'm not thinking we should word pad this, but this is an opportunity to address a really important topic. There is a comment here. Robert, I can't type into this, but Kitty had a comment regarding using art as the balustrades or the balustrades. So if let me see, this is a shared screen. So Robert, if in the feedback column you could put down Kitty's comment, that would be really great. Right there. Kitty's comment regarding art for balustrades.
How is this relating to Dan's security screening visitors? I'm lost.
Okay.
So it was, I think Kitty's comment was, instead of just having concrete barriers up, that it be more of an art, that we add art into the, that it be more about art. So it still has the functionality of the of doing the protection, but that it is more my brain won't give me the word right now.
Yeah, it just needs to be clear. It's not clear what she's saying.
It's meant to enhance the aesthetic.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take responsibility for writing that additional thought, unless Kitty gets something to me when she gets back online.
Dan's got his hands up, Eric.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add,
Dan.
The only thing I'll add is the rendering that I saw showed like a flower box planter type thing instead of just plain bollards. I agree that just bollards is kind of ugly. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find the right words. Okay. Next week we'll look at this again. So I'm not going to take a vote on this at the moment. Can we move on to the next one? Thor.
Yeah, so I just reread I was looking at the comments from last year. I feel that in many ways we're still at a similar spot, kind of waiting on what is the direction for community safety of what's going to happen. In reaching out to Eric, he had recommended that we can request a 10-year capital investment plan that might give us more information from the city, and so I had that in there as well. And I did want to at least highlight that the 3rd precinct building is not being discussed in detail at all, and I think it's important. That building will need some type of, potentially will need some type of infrastructure or large capital investments if it will continue to be a precinct or whatever it might turn into. But want to make sure that they're addressing what's going to happen with the 3rd precinct as well.
Great. Robert, could you put that in the comment, please? The feedback column.
Because if you throw a suggestion to also, if you can relate that they're in Kmart on Nicollet, so they're paying money there for that building and those 2 buildings going on because they're temporarily located in the Kmart building on Nicollet.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, Robert. So I don't editorialize or anything. Could you let me know the specific comments you'd like me to drop into the feedback?
So I think, I'm sorry. So what I was hearing is that we want to make a note that we want to address that the Kmart, that we're paying for Kmart space right now.
So are we asking them for a plan on the replacement of the 3rd precinct? So
yeah, Eric, I mean, I think that ideally what's hard though is we don't, kind of in the whole vein of we're not sure what's happening. And so I don't know if something drastically changes, are they just going to level the 3rd precinct? So yes, I think we should know what the plan is because we're paying for space otherwise, but I think there's still some there's still some unknowns going on. Right. So, yeah.
So we could make a statement such as, if the city is planning on rebuilding the 3rd precinct, Click would like to have advance notice of such intentions, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Can I just,
Dan?
Yeah, I just wasn't aware that we were in Kmart. I thought the 3rd precinct was out of one of the buildings downtown that got vacated in the move after the public service building opened. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not talking about things that aren't actually happening. And I think it also, my other comment on this is, we want to attract people to become police officers, or if we're going to have police, we want to have the people that are, top notch, I guess. And if we don't have top notch facilities for them, I don't know how we're supposed to attract employees that are, we're going to want to employ.
Okay.
I think one of the things too, we have to remember when we talk about these buildings that the city owns this lands already and spending more money to relocate and what have you, when they need to consider that too. So we definitely need, as Sora's saying, what is the plan? They own the land.
So Willie, could we have your help in drafting this language?
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So Robert, before you speak, could you add Willie to the team there? So Bjorn, Jocelyn, and Willie.
And Thor.
And
yeah, that was the Bjorn. That was the Bjorn. I got it.
Okay, Robert.
Sorry. So before I know whether I have everything, I do want to confirm, although I'm not sure how the Kmart space is currently being used, that there are, I believe, portions or all of the 3rd Police Precinct are being operated out of one of the city's downtown, currently vacant building spaces.
So they're downtown now. Okay.
Yeah, I did want to just confirm. I think that's the current setup. I don't know how long that's planned or what's happening with Kmart, but there's a little bit of that. And
That's a whole
then
different story.
And then I don't know. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I've got the comments and the names correct on this one.
Thank you.
Okay, great. James.
Yeah, maybe a simple language would be, Click is expecting that any refurbishment of the 3rd precinct would come through the normal Click process and get included with all of this. But maybe that simplifies it.
Yep. That's a good way to go. The last time we didn't mention this, they went ahead and built the public service building.
Yes.
Okay, any other comments? If not, let's move on to the next one. Okay, Bill.
Yeah, did you need me to send that to you, Eric, or
Yeah,
how did you want to?
yeah. Did you send something to me already?
Over email. We had a revised copy. I can send it again if that would be helpful. I'm not sure if we had email issue with SharePoint, so I think I might be locked out of the SharePoint site.
Okay, Robert, let's make sure that Bill can get in there. And I didn't get it, Bill. I'm sorry.
No worries.
We'll get you into the SharePoint site, and then you can just kind of paste it into that, and we'll look at it next week.
Okay.
Super. It's probably at my end. I was having problems with formatting. Okay, let's move on to PSD 20, which is City Hall and the new Public Services Building. Eamon?
Yeah, this comment was basically just intended to kind of communicate the issues that Click has had with this process, while we are indicating in the main report and the rankings, a kind of the fact that this project has kind of already left the station, but just to kind of memorialize the fact that the oversight has been imperfect for it. So if anybody has comments, those are welcome as well.
So, Eamon, my plan, if you go to the very top, don't go up there, Robert, at the very beginning, a general comment regarding accountability and having management controls in place. That's one of my planned statements.
Yeah, I think that would be great to add.
Yeah. And this would be a specific case that we can refer to. So any discussion here?
I'd heard that the overruns were within the contingency budget, so I'm not sure. Maybe we could get some additional perspective from staff on if there was an actual overrun or what the status is.
Yeah, well, Robert?
Yeah, so I think that's been a subject of discussion of late, and staff may be able to bring, I don't know, some additional detail to the discussion around cost overruns, what the original budget estimate was, and how much the building and related city hall improvements have been delivered for. That I don't know, that may add some additional insight into just how the project was delivered. I think from a staff perspective, the original project budget and the final amount that's been spent on the total project have been reasonably close, but I think it all depends on like where you start to measure from. And so if Quick is working off of an early estimate that does show this discrepancy, that makes sense. If Quick is working off, I think the early amounts that we showed in the capital improvement program versus what we have today, those amounts may be closer. Within the project, amounts have moved around as well, which may explain some of the variation. And then I know that we've had some reporting as well on this project that also probably needs to be reconciled with this. And so I'd be remiss from a staff perspective without I don't know, offering to break down some of the detail, I think, on how the project has changed over time. I do know for a fact that one of the earlier there's been at least one report that the project was significantly over budget, but in the same report, I think it attempted to distinguish between the city hall improvements and the new public service building portion of the cost, and whereas like the overall project budget remained whole, the element that was for the new public service building versus the city hall was an early high level estimate, and so those parts did change over time, whereas the whole, the amount that we appropriated and used to build the project were full. And so I think to the extent that those are addressed and like named in this comment, I think that will help it stand on its own legs, especially if it gels with a lot of the information that we've been tracking. If Click prefers to leave it at a higher level and just leave it open-ended, that's also obviously an option. So if it makes sense, I can provide, I think, just some additional detail on how the appropriations were worked through. And I don't know what the best way to do it, if it makes sense to reach out and share directly to folks who are writing the comment, provide an overview as part of this task force. I'd be open to anything, really.
So, Robert, is this a question that Mark Ruff can answer?
Yes, and I believe he has in the past addressed this question.
He did with the new building. He came there and told, remember, Eric, he came to us and presented the building that we didn't have a voice in this building at all. And then he said they would bring it to us this year. So at the beginning of this project, Click was theoretically not involved in any of those decisions, in the cost or anything. So this is like a new thing for us this year. So we have very little voice until now.
So the reason I asked that question, Robert, okay, I'm taking the privilege of the chair by asking this question. The reason I'm asking this is perhaps you could direct the question to Mark Ruff and not leave it at the staff level. Actually ask Mark, what is the status, and actually what do these new numbers mean to us? And the second part of that question is, what does it mean to net debt bonds?
Yes, so that's a great chance for an update. We have that specific question out, not just to Mark, who's acting is the city coordinator, but also to staff who are tracking this information as well. I think the ETA is probably another week before we get some full clarity on it, but Steve Brandt has actually already put the question forward to staff. We're actively working to provide a fulsome answer on that, because the question that he had was, this is more than we requested last year, more than was requested last year. And of that amount, how much is paid from the original intended resources for the project, and how much is additional resources that will use up available net debt bonds, if I could characterize it that way.
Okay, so we'll get that information next week. Okay.
James had his hands up.
Yeah, I have James and Eamon. Let's go with Eamon first.
Yeah, just a short comment, kind of in response to what Robert said. I would certainly both welcome any kind of staff input to this, and also anybody who's been on the committee, maybe you, Eric, or Willie, who has more experience with kind of Click's level of participation in this kind of oversight function, because as somebody who just started this year, I may not have the most context on that. So anybody feel free to add or to change based on their experiences.
Great, thank you, Eamon. James? James and then Dan. James? James, you're on mute. Okay, we'll have to come back to James. Dan?
I just did a little bit of Googling as people were talking. The original budget was 210, and according to, again, Google, we're at 195 for the project. So I think the comment about, you know, the extra cost to remodel the MBC or the courthouse building maybe factors into that. But I think, again, I like to make sure we're stating things that are factual before we, you know, put them in a document.
So a question, Dan, is that the initial estimate, was that what was presented, what was appropriated, or was that the project estimate for the council appropriated?
I just found it in a Southwest Journal article online that said the original estimate was 210 million. That was from 2018 before the project started.
Okay. James, your hand is still up. Are you off of mute yet? Okay, sorry, James, we're gonna have to move on. Kitty.
Does my microphone work now?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted to tell you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let me see. I think James is the only hand I see up there. Okay. Are there any other comments? Otherwise, we're going to move backwards. We're going to go to Kitty's Arts and Public Places. Okay.
And Eric, I don't have any feedback noted on this one, but I do want to note that we will be following up on questions from the staff side and can reach out separately on the best way to provide, you know, at least an update on the finances behind the project to the extent that we've already gotten a number of questions on it.
Yeah, I believe it was Dan who suggested we can go high level or we can get into the areas where we're uncertain. And if we don't have the data, then we probably should just leave it at the level of being accountable, having some type of management oversight so that the numbers don't fluctuate so greatly. Okay, can we go to the very top, Robert, up to Kitty? Now that you're with us, would you like to go over art in public places?
Do I need to read it, or should I just say that if you want any of the references and investigation that I used for the statement, I can submit it. I have it in a Word document. Oh, I have it in a document, but the history of art in public places kind of surprised me as how long this has been going on and how many cities have been doing this. And I was somewhat shocked to find out that Minneapolis only started the art in public places in 2015. So we are well behind. Even some, I don't want to say minor cities, but we're well behind the art in public places, which is probably recognizable. I mean, I recognize it when walking around the city and places that we are behind, and that's where this comment comes from.
Okay, let's open this to discussion. See, Rich?
Yeah, this is Rich. I wanted to ask the committee as a whole, given the makeup of our current city council and what I think of is strong support for Kitty's comments, what are the odds that this project will not get funded? I mean, is this pretty much a slam dunk anyway?
Let me see.
I can comment on some of the background behind Art 01 if it makes sense, and I'm sorry if it's already been addressed, Eric.
No, it hasn't. Go ahead.
So Art 01, you know, as part of the funding behind this project, I can't remember the specific amount, but I believe it is 1.5% of the city's annual net debt bond programming, which we'll see in a little bit, is required by charter to go to Art 01. And if that sheds some additional light on the amount of funding that gets programmed toward this project every single year.
Okay, and does that cover the request as it stands? That is the 1.5%. Does that cover the dollar amount that this has asked for?
So to staff's understanding and based on some of the background that Mary Altman provided earlier, this request is aimed at utilizing that 1.5% amount specifically.
So Rich, I believe that answer is Robert, yes?
Yes, yeah, so those two amounts should be matched up exactly.
Okay, Kitty?
You know, the reason I'm asking for the doubling is that Minneapolis, in their statement goals that we look at, believes that they're a leader, in fact, a leader in just about every category, but not in art and public places, even though they say so. So I always believe in asking for what you'd really like rather than asking for what you think you can get. So that's in the statement of doubling, at least doubling the amount of 1.5%, double it to 3% for the next 5 years, so we can actually catch up and at the same time support our artists. And what it also does is, what they have found is where there is public art like this, there's also a decrease in crime and an increase in appreciation for the arts. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to refute this anymore.
Okay, I'm going to go to Rich and then Robert.
Sorry, no more questions.
Okay.
Katrina.
Okay, let me see here.
I think Katrina's got her hands up.
Yep, I just lowered it.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Okay, good. Are there any comments that people would like to put into the feedback section right now? Okay, so next week we'll be voting on each of these. So, you know, you let this sort of stew in your minds and then see where we go. Okay, let's, Robert, back up to down, 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 past the police. After the next one, after PSD 20. Okay, there we go. Rado 2. Eamon.
Yeah, this comment, I guess I think it treads over a lot of the same ground that Thor's comment does, and it's just intended to reiterate that without kind of clear policy guidance about the direction that public safety is taking in the city, that there's some deficiencies in CLIC's ability to evaluate capital projects that, of course, exist in service to some greater strategy for public safety. So I think that these could even be potentially combined if that seemed like something that would be better for people, because I don't know how strongly we want to reiterate that statement twice in the comments, but that's what it's designed to do.
Okay, well, oftentimes when there's a common theme that runs across several requests, we consolidate it into a general comment. Is that what you might be suggesting?
Yeah. I think if Thor is open to that, I would definitely not be opposed to that.
Thor?
Yes, that makes sense to me.
Okay, would one of you like to take responsibility for consolidating?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And
Great.
Thor, I'll send like a shared doc.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, the comment is that Brad 02 will be woven with, and it'll become a general comment. So both of those will disappear as being individual comments. Okay, can we move on to the next one, please? Okay, water distribution facility. Thor, forgive me if I couldn't find it.
Yeah, you know, I think Dan had kind of started one, and then I didn't realize that I, in essence, was the lead to forward it. I did,
Oh.
Robert, you want to look? I tried to update it. I did send an email as well, if you want to check to see.
Sure. Yeah. Is it in the SharePoint document?
I thought I added it to SharePoint, or it should be in your email as also recently. So
Do you have it in the SharePoint document? Here, let me copy
Yeah.
and paste it in.
There we go.
And
Okay.
Dan, do you mind? You crafted most of the wording on this. Do you mind speaking to this?
Sure. It's just kind of my mantra here, like treating our employees well, providing them space and trying to keep out of the larger conversation. The city council needs to make a decision about benefits versus concerns about the project, and move forward with getting people a place to work out of.
That's great. Any discussion from the group?
If I can just jump in on this, I'm not sure how this comment there, the city council, I think, voted to do a bunch of reports that are due in August. So I think we just have to keep that in mind with our comments, that there's a lot more that's going to be coming out in August in regards to this specific space and the project as a whole.
So, Robert, timing wise, will this come up before the August report?
That is correct. The CLIC report and recommendation to the mayor for inclusion in the mayor's recommended budget will be closer to early July timeframe.
So let's go to Bill Graves, and then Kitty.
Hi, yeah, I didn't get a chance to review or work on these comments, and I don't agree with them, so I'd like my name removed from the list of editors for this comment.
Bill, before we do that, I have a question. Is it possible to edit this or modify this to the point where you will find it acceptable? Because we're going to be coming back to you anyway to see if there's a way to make this a consensus statement.
I don't think there is. I would take the opposite position.
Oh, okay. Okay. Robert, if you could take Bill's name off of there.
Sure.
And Bill, realize that we're going to vote on this, so the opposition also has a voice. So if for all we know, the opposition may be in the majority, so hold on to your thoughts and share them with us later.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's, are there any modifications here? Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next one.
No, my hand's up.
Oh, there it is. Okay, go ahead, Kitty.
So put Bill's name back on there, please, because I'm with him. And I kind of take issue with the statement that the city council needs to make a decision and implement the project, because as we know, things change so quickly, and the city council, I hope, can have the flexibility to make changes. I have a knowledge of how this project got started from the very beginning, and just from some conversations and meetings I was in with some people at the city. So we probably need to have a bigger discussion about this, because one of the things I don't want to happen is that the city council keeps with a decision that was made a long time ago when the community has moved forward, if that makes sense. So if Bill's going to take his name off, I need to take my name off.
Okay, hold that thought, Kitty. Robert, what can you hold until after Bill goes?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay, Bill. Bill, your hand is up.
Oh, sorry. Didn't turn it down.
Yep.
I don't have an additional comment. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Robert.
I'm just waiting in queue until we're done with this comment. I'm kind of ready to see if folks are able to join tonight. So I'll hang tight for a little bit.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to recommend. Let's hold this comment as it is. And Kitty and Bill, if you would like to express how it can be modified or your opposition or alternative language, that would be very helpful, because I'm very well acquainted with the issues around this project, and I know there are strong feelings in both directions, and we'll have to come out with some kind of consensus. If not a consensus, then we're going to vote next week. Okay, so Bill and Kitty, if you want to go into SharePoint and provide alternative language, that would be really helpful for us to move forward. Okay, let's go on to the next one, Water 35.
Sure, and Eric, before we do that, I did want to touch base again on tonight's public hearing with the Planning Commission. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at this time I've got a basic tally sheet ready. It sounds like a couple of folks from the Transportation Task Force are able and interested to join this evening. At this point, I do want to check in with the Human Development Task Force and see by a simple show of hands, either via the raise hands function, or I can kind of work through the video here, if folks are able to join the meeting this evening. So I'm going to put my hand down and I'll ask for folks who are interested and able to join at 6 o'clock to go ahead and raise their hand. And what I'll do is I'll distribute the link to the Human Development Task Force that will let you join tonight's meeting, or at least provide the call-in details. Okay, great. I'm going to work through the hands that I'm seeing right here, and I'll note it. Okay, thanks. I think I have enough notes. I think this is great. This should enable Click to actually reach quorum this evening at 6 o'clock, which is a huge benefit, I think, for our public process that we'll be following. Again, many thanks for folks for kind of following along with our process as we try and adhere as best as possible to the clean rules that the city clerk is trying to administer on this one. I'll send out the link to tonight's public meeting following this meeting, so everybody's got access to it. I'll provide a few additional details as well.
Great.
I'm going to switch over to the comments unless anybody else wants to discuss or raise questions.
Let's go back here. So Jake, your hand's still up. You have comments?
Nope, I just forgot to put it down. Sorry about that.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Water 35, renewable energy at water treatment campuses, which we've combined with PSD 24, solar various locations.
That was me and Eamon and Katrina.
Great, thanks. I don't know why there's nothing in.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so the purpose of this comment really was to draw Mayor Fry and City Council's attention towards a goal that they made in 2018 to move to 100% renewable energy for municipal facilities and operations by 2022, and then they had another goal for the city by 2030. And to reflect our conversation about these projects from last week's meeting, and then to acknowledge that we wanted to stay true to the guidelines in terms of how we rate projects. So, we didn't give this a critical designation, but that we wanted to emphasize the importance of addressing climate issues, climate change. And then we have another comment further down that goes into specifics about the American Rescue Plan Act. And encouraging them to identify projects that help us meet our stated goals as a city. So that was the intention of this comment.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see any hands up. Are there any comments, any thoughts, any recommended edits? If not, let's, okay, my personal comment, this is a really great comment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to.
High five, Eamon and Katrina.
Great. So Robert, I believe that's it.
Yep, that's it. I don't have any other comments shown up in this document.
Okay, then I will ask members and staff if there are any other matters to come before this meeting. If not, and without objection, I declare this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at noon. And thank you, everyone. I do want to remind you, if you can make it at 6 p.m. tonight, please do. Executive committee members, please join at 5:45. You all have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.